You all know me as that one that works offshore, that works in a job that she enjoys so much. What if I told you that this was not my first choice career? I never ever dreamt of being or finding myself in this kind of career. What if I told you that? I'm sure you will not believe me. Will you? Will you? Hello, my people. Today, I'm here to answer Lily Casablanca's question. Yeah, this question that I reserved for a special video. Lily asked, what made you decide on your current profession and what did you study? Secondary, undergrad, postgrad? Lily, I didn't decide on my current job. Yeah, I'll tell you how it was decided from me. From the course I studied at the university to the job I am currently doing, my career, my whole career that you see me enjoying, telling you guys that is the best job in the world. Of course, you guys can also see that it's the best job in the world. Yeah, even though a lot of you are afraid of water, afraid of entry chopper, afraid of heights, afraid of this, afraid of that. I enjoy it so much. I love the job so much. Yeah, but it wasn't my first choice. Let me start from the secondary school. Yeah, my secondary school, because that's when I came to be. Yeah, that's when I can say that I became aware. My choice, of course, was to study civil engineering. I wanted to be a civil engineer. I got that from my cousin. My cousin was a quantity surveyor when we were young. You know, back in the day when there was no social media, it wasn't the digital age, no phones. Back then, Sunday visitations, yeah, especially on Sundays, was very common. So whenever my parents, you know, my cousin is a much older person. Yeah. In fact, their last born in their family is older than me, the firstborn in my family. So they were much older. So he was already working as a quantity surveyor. But then a quantity surveyor is not a very common profession up till this day. They are very important in the lifetime of a building, or not just a building. I think maybe a bridge, whatever you want to build. A quantity surveyor is supposed to come and provide the costing for the job. So for a house, normally immediately after the building plans are made, the quantity surveyor will step in and use the building plans and the measurements to come up with the cost of building the house, because they'll measure it, know how many blocks, know how many how many trips of sand you need, you know, all that. Whenever we went to his house during the weekends, he will spread building plans on any and every surface. Back then, building plans had character. Yeah, if you touch it, it's rustic. It looked like stenciled. It had a smell, you know, like fresh off the press newspaper. Yeah, oh my God. So my cousin would spread all the building plans on any and every surface. Back then, he lived in a 3-bedroom flat. That was when, yeah, you get off school, you get a good job. A single person can comfortably live in a 3-bedroom flat, drive a brand new car. Yeah, there was nothing like Tokumbo back then. One of the rooms was used as his study. He will spread it on his study, and if that place is full, he will spread on his dining, in the visitor's room, on the bed in the visitor's room. So I will spend a lot of time poring over these building plans, you know, trying to understand it, asking him so many questions. In fact, not even asking him questions, bombarding him with questions. And my parents will be like, leave the young man alone now. Yeah, with questions. My cousin will be like, no. Leave her alone. She's actually the only person that comes here and is interested in what I do. That job is still rare up to today, because when people are building their houses, they bypass the quantity surveyor. So please, if you're a quantity surveyor, can you let me know? Let me know below, because I believe that job is so rare, it's going extinct. So my cousin will explain everything to me, teach me what the arcs meant, why the doors swing this way, will teach me what a window is, but the bathroom. And I got so immersed in building plans. I began to understand. This was when I was in JS 2, JS 3. My cousin will explain everything to me, teach me everything. And I understood it so well that while he will be talking with my parents, I will be there, completely immerse myself into the drawing, and the walls, you know, will come up in my imagination, and I'll be moving from room to room like a maze. Oh my God, it was so fun. I will ask my cousin, are you the one that will build this? You know, my cousin will say, no. Later, after I'm done with the costing, a civil engineer will come in and then build the house. And I'll be like, oh, so the person that will take this building, like this drawing, and convert it into an edifice is a civil engineer. from then, I decided that that's what I want to be. I saw it as building something from nothing. Yeah, from imagination. The architect would draw the plan, and then the civil engineer is the person that will, convert it to something 3D. I kept it to myself that this is what I wanted to be. Life continued in school. When I was about to go into my 5th year, we were going from SS1 to SS2. I had to drop French to do technical drawing. You know how it is in secondary school. They will restrict you to the number of subjects you have to do. So based on the choices we had in SS2, I had to drop French. I was doing French in up to SS1. But my French teacher would not have it. We were very few of us that were doing French back then. So she knew that once I left the class, probably the others will leave the class as well. So she took me all the way to the HOD of French. You know how it is in school. You have different classes and different teachers. So she took me to the HOD, and then both of them took me to the principal's office. They were trying to convince me to do French instead of technical drawing. And that's when I told them that I want to be a civil engineer. You know how it is. They've been bombarding me, and now you said, okay, maybe if I say this now, everybody will leave me alone. I want to be a civil engineer. Before I said that, they were telling me, actually, some names of medications are written in French, or they have their origin in French. You know how it is. When you're a brilliant student in school, everybody just assumes that you go on to become a medical doctor, to study medicine. And I was like, no, I don't want to be a medical doctor. I don't even like biology. Out of the 3 core science subjects, like physics, chemistry, biology that I was doing then, biology was my least favorite. I don't even like it at all. I don't want to use a strong word for it, but I just read it to pass it then, because it's required for you to go to university. As a science student, it's required that you have at least a credit in English, maths, physics, chemistry, biology. And that's the only way that I read biology back then. It's too vast for me. I prefer that when things are subjected to equations. That's just how my brain works. I have a lot of respect for people that can do theoretical courses. I cannot. So the principal said, there you have it. You guys don't have an argument here. This girl wants to be a civil engineer. And from my point of view, technical drawing is more related to civil engineering than French. And that was the end of the argument. For those of you that watched my mom's Q&A on this channel, you heard when she said that she was a member of Board of Governors in my school back then. So that's how she got to hear of it. During the next Board of Governors meeting in my school, my principal brought that story up. The thing entered my mom's ear. My mom came back home that day. What is this that I hear that you want to be a civil engineer? Come. You see that scaffold? Point at a building under construction. You see that scaffold? Can you climb that? I said, yes, I can climb it, even though I later found out that civil engineers don't even climb the scaffold. But at that time, I said, yes, I can climb it. Because, at that time, I just thought, is this not about height? I'm not afraid of height. If my job in the future requires that I climb scaffolds, I'll definitely climb. And my mom said, even when you're pregnant, you know how it is. Girls are brought up based on family, raising family, being pregnant and all that. From then on, whenever people, you remember when I told you that people usually visited each other on Sundays, whenever our aunties and uncles and family friends came to visit us on a Sunday. And they now ask, hey, how about school? Before I even open my mouth to answer, my mom would say, this one says that she wants to be a civil engineer. We'll talk to her. and they will now start, civil guinea, call sumu, okay. Let me tell you, if they put you and put a man, if both of you are applying for a job, they will take 5 men before they will consider you. Better find another job and do. Hey, better find another course and study. It didn't annoy me because I'm such a visual learner. I would have done, I still believe that till this day, I would have done an exceptional job as a civil engineer. For those of you who follow me on my other channel, can't you see how I am on a building site? Yeah? Can't you see? I would have done perfectly well. Like that, I believe that being a civil engineer is my calling in this life. Well, anyway, one of my mom's fellow wives and other people, they eventually convinced me, that's the word, they eventually convinced me to study electronic engineering because it sounds feminine. Yeah, since you want to study engineering, okay, study electronic engineering now. UNN offers electronic engineering. Okay, UNN offers, I don't know about now, but back then, only 5 departments of engineering. Civil engineering, they've already talked me out of it. Agric engineering, there's no way I would have even considered that one. Mechanical engineering is another course, okay. Then electrical engineering, I don't want to work in NEPA. I didn't want to work in NEPA because back then it's just electrical, NEPA. No, I didn't want to work there. So electronic engineering was the only one left. So I went on to study electronic engineering. While with civil engineering, I already knew what I wanted. Like if I studied civil engineering, I'll go on to start constructing houses, right? This is the course I want to study. This is the job I want to do. Well defined. But now that they have pushed me to study electronic engineering, I did not have any idea, any plan of where electronic engineers worked. And I wasn't even interested in the course. Semiconductors, like I went on to find out that it's filled with semiconductors, virtual circuits and all that. It's not what I'm interested in. I am a very visual learner. In fact, in my second year, I went on the technical drawing in my secondary school. I excelled in it. I was brilliant in technical drawing. And in my school, when we were still doing general engineering courses, in our engineering drawing class, I'll finish drawing mine, very neat job. I'll go on to help my class people. Yeah, if they're watching, they can confirm that. So that was my calling. Either being an architect or being a civil engineer, something like that. I am a visual person. Yeah. I like seeing things. I don't like virtual things like that. Okay, up to our second year, there was no definition of what I was going to do as a career. I was just in school, go to school first. So one day, that's the turning point in my life. One day in our second year, in first year, second year, there are courses that we do general. The whole faculty of engineering students do these courses. So engineering 201 or something like that. We were heading to the lecture hall, a very big lecture hall. We were heading there and then to start because we had the class. And then a lot of students, our class people in the same year as us in the faculty of engineering, they were coming out, trooping out. We were like, what's going on? Has the lecture been cancelled and stuff like that? They said no, that they're doing an interview there. That Schlumberger recruiters are there interviewing potential 2-1 students that are in 4th year at that time. So I started asking questions. What's going on? What does it mean? They said, oh, they come here, they interview them, and when they pass, when they graduate, minimum of 2-1, with a minimum of 2-1, they will hire them, actually influence their NYSC, and then they will work for them. They will come and serve with them in Port Harcourt or Warri, where Schlumberger had a presence in Nigeria back then. And then after that, they do well, they will retain them and they will become permanent employees of Schlumberger. And I was like, what the hell? So all I need to do is have a 2-1, right? That's where I'm going to work. Now I'm going to work in an oil company. You see, that's the turning point for my career. And then I started reading my books seriously because I wasn't taking my books seriously. I've said it here before that organized learning is not for me. Yeah, I started studying because I needed to have a 2-1. Of course, my first year results were not bad. My second year result, it wasn't bad, but it was just there. If I had continued, I would have performed very poorly in my third year, because in third year is when UNN, in Nigeria, you study engineering courses for 5 years. So in our third year is when we start doing core departmental courses. And those third year courses really challenged me. I'm telling you, because they were virtual circuits and all that. You study in electronic engineering. And I'm pretty sure that if I hadn't gotten that information in my second year, I would have performed poorly. Third year is the determining point because he had a lot of 3-unit courses, fully departmental courses. In fact, there was one lecturer that truly annoyed me back then. The man was only interested in showing off how smart he is, how he studied in Russia and all that. He wasn't passing on the knowledge. He was not a good teacher, and his course challenged me a lot. And all his courses were 3 units and all that. So fast forward, I don't want to waste too much time in this story time, because we haven't even arrived at the job that I'm doing today, because you will see how it's still determined for me on the long run. Okay, I performed well in my third year. My third year wasn't bad. My results were good because I studied hard. My co-friends in school, in my class, will tell you how they will get a space for me at the library. They'll be going to the library early in the morning. The place my room was in the hostel, I could see the front of the hostel. So they will from there call me, Floppy, I'm leaving. I said, get a seat for me. They'll get a seat for me. And after some time, I'll be like, I don't really want to go to this library to read, for the exam. Just close the lecture free period for exam. But because I didn't want my friends to feel bad for getting planting a seed for me. And I end up not turning up, I will go. So anyway, just to tell you that even at that time that I already knew the direction I wanted to go, I already knew what I wanted, I still had to push myself a lot to go and read. Anyway, in my 4th year, I made sure that I served in Port Harcourt because I wanted to go there. I wanted to position myself where I'll get the job. Yeah. You know what I mean when I talk about catchment area. When I talk about catchment area, who to agree to marry. You people thought I was joking or I was playing. I'm not playing. It was so serious for me that you lived in Port Harcourt or Warri or wherever, where I'll get a job. There's no way I'll do all these things and then one man in Kafanchan will come and marry me and come and put me in his house to be making children for him only. That's the story for another day, but let me just mention, because this is important to what I'm saying. Even though they are an oil services company, they were installing transformers in remote places back then, but I didn't work in that department. I didn't go to the field for one day. I actually worked in an internet department because my boss was an Italian man that was crazy about the internet. This was back in the 90s. He was crazy about the internet and he taught me everything I know about the internet, web creation and all that till today, which I have used a lot. I've applied it. I have a website. I applied that skill. So that skill didn't really go, but at least I put myself there in Port Harcourt. I worked in Transamadi. Transamadi is the home of, for those that know Port Harcourt, Transamadi is the home of oil companies and oil services companies in Port Harcourt. So I put myself there. I wanted to leave it. I passed through all those companies every single day on my way to work, on my way back from work, on my way to go on for my lunch and all that. So I was seeing it every day, reminding myself that these are the companies I want to work for, right? And then I came back to school after my internship and I graduated with a 2-1. Yeah. For youth service, I was posted to Kogi State. And one of my uncles, I've already talked with him. I said, Uncle, I want to serve in Rivers. That's where Port Harcourt is, the home of oil companies in Nigeria. And I said, since you work in Abuja, he was a civil servant in Abuja back then. Since you work in Abuja, you must know people that will influence it. Yeah, influence it for me because all these Nipo babies, their parents influence it for them. But me, I'm not a Nipo baby now, so influence it for me. But long story short, that uncle forgot to do anything about it. And the day we heard that we should come to school to take our call up, I called him and he said, oh, sorry, I forgot, but do you know what? Go to school, pick up your call up. If you're not posted to Rivers, come straight to Abuja. So I went to school, picked up my call up. I was posted to Kogi State. And, normally, if I have never seen the place, I would have gone, But Providence has it that when I finished secondary school, I went to one of my mom's cousin's house in Ilori, Kwara State. My mom that never allows me to go to anybody's house, but after secondary school, while waiting for JAMB and all those stuff, I went to his house all the way in a lorry, and our vehicle passed through that Kogi, that Kaba. Kaba was supposed to be because the orientation camp, they write it on the call-up. Orientation camp was in Kaba. There was nothing in this Kaba. I'm sorry to say, if you're from Kaba, you will know that, I don't know what Kaba looks like now, but back in the 90s, early 90s that I passed through there. I passed through there in the early 90s before I entered university. There was nothing there. There's nothing I would have done there except maybe teaching a secondary school or teaching a primary school. I don't know what I would have done there as a copper. So I knew that my life depended on not going there. I needed to go to Abuja. So I entered Peace Mass Transit and went straight to Abuja to my uncle's house. And the next morning, he just got his business card, turned the back, wrote a note to somebody in NYSC and gave to me. I said, go to secretariat and meet this person. At the secretariat, you know how we say in Igbo, if you threw up a rock, a stone into the crowd, it will land on somebody's head because of the sheer number of people there. Because again, coincidentally, a lot of coincidences in my life. Coincidentally, our NYSC set was the first set to go for youth service right after some states in the north, some governors in northern states adopted the Sharia law. So the stories we were hearing then was that if you go there, they will flog you. If you do any small thing, they will flog you at the market square. They will cut off your hand. They will do this, they will do that. So nobody wanted to go to the northern states. So all the people that were posted in the northern state were at the NYC secretariat to change their posting. Normally, people that go to change their posting are people that have medical issues, for that reason they can't go to. My children are back. in Nigeria NYSC, people that normally go and change their posting are people that have medical issues. Maybe they cannot serve in certain states. For instance, people that have asthma, they will not be able to serve in the northern states. Northern states are drier and dustier, so it affects their health. So usually they go and change their posting. Then nursing mothers, pregnant women, married women, yeah, people with genuine reasons why they can't be separated from their family, from their normal place of abode. Yeah, they are allowed to change their posting, assuming that they are sent to places. No, I don't know if they apply for specific posting before. I don't know, but yeah, they are allowed to change. But in addition to this group of people, you can imagine all the other people that were posted to the northern states that were there to change their posting. So I just came and I started, like tears dropped from my eyes, and I said, is that how my dreams of working in an oil company has gone? I mean, you can serve anywhere and then later go to Rivers or Port Harcourt to look for a job, but you've already lost 1 year. That is the aspect of NYSC that I don't like. They shouldn't be posting people randomly. People should be allowed, just like internships, people should be allowed to go to the state where the opportunities for what they want to do exist, so that they can start early to look for a job or to position themselves. That's just my opinion. Anyway, I just sat around with pregnant women and nursing mothers. They were sitting around there, in a shade. I just sat there. People were trooping around. They run from this, they run from that. They will be bringing news for us. We'll be asking them what's going on. I didn't even have energy. I was just tired. After some time, some people said that they were no longer printing the new redeployment papers. Is it called redeployment? Yeah, or reposting papers, slips. That they were not printing it anymore, that their machine broke down. They have one big printing machine that it broke down, that they're trying to fix it. So I just sat there deflated. I was just waiting to go home to my uncle's house and tell him this is, sadly I couldn't change it, and the next morning I'll head off to Kaba of all places. Anyway, suddenly a door close to us opened and they said, line up and come in one by one. That's what they said. I looked around. Nobody there looked like me. The only looking like me that they looked like is that some of the pregnant women were wearing maternity gowns. I was wearing a kaftan. This kaftan, the only reason I packed it to school, because the way on my way to collect my call-up, because my uncle already said, if you're not posted to Rivers, come straight to Abuja. So I packed like I was going to camp already, even before I went to school, to pick up my call-up. So I packed kaftan in case I was posted to the north, so that I can wear kaftan, which is in line with the northern Nigerian culture. They wear women wear kaftan and tie head scarves. Yeah, so that's what I was wearing that day when I went to the secretariat in Abuja. So probably I looked like a pregnant woman. I don't know, or maybe somebody that is newly. It could pass for a maternity gown. I don't know. So we queued up and we were going in one by one. So what the man that was in that office was doing, I don't know who he is till today. What he was doing was handwriting the new posting, because the machine was broken. So he was just writing it, signing it and stamping it, and then he'll give you, and they say wrong, go, because at that time there was no time anymore. Go. As soon as I came in, the man looked at me. Where? I said Rivers. He wrote Rivers, signed it, stamped it, bam. I left. I ran to my uncle's house. By then it was late, towards close of work for that day. I went to my uncle's house and I told him, Uncle, it has been changed. See my sleep. I have to leave for Port Harcourt this now. If I were going to Kaba, that's Kogi State, I would have been able to leave the next morning and still arrive on time. But for me to arrive on time and beat the deadline in Port Harcourt, I needed to leave that night on a night bus. My uncle took me straight to Chisco Park that night. Me that detest night bus. I entered night bus to Lagos one time before I entered university, and I swore that I would never try that anymore. But there's no option. I entered Chisco bus and we arrived in Port Harcourt. Did you remember? Am I saying remember as if you were there with me? Our service was bang in the middle of rainy season in July. That's when our camp was. So I arrived in Port Harcourt the next day at Eleme Junction. You see rain there. Rain beat me shaggy. I dropped at Eleme Junction for me to cross the road, cross Aba Road, and go to the other side and enter the vehicle going to Norwabam, because that's where, I don't know where the Port Harcourt camp is now. That's where it was back then. I was drenched. It was heavy rain. If you see flood on the street, that rain did not carry me that day anyway. I went to camp camp conditions was rubbish. And because I arrived very late, I didn't even get a space. It was 2 girls. I'm still looking for those 2 girls till today. 2 girls that housed me. I knew one of them. She was in the room next to mine in Bellu Hall Hostel at UNN anyway. But the other one, I didn't know her. I met her on camp. So when I went to register, they now read what he wrote. You can imagine, for all this while, I didn't even read what the man wrote. So they saw that I can be exempt from camp. You know, the man wrote back up. You know how he wrote back up? I don't know whether he wrote that I was pregnant till today. Registering you on camp and then giving you a lot of papers and all that. It was when I went to the hostel that I was reading everything, and then this allows her to leave camp at will and all that. So I don't, till today, I don't even, because they will take that posting slip, that call up letter slip from you when they register you. So till today, I don't know what the man wrote on that slip. Till today, that slip helped me a lot, because with that, I was able to leave camp anytime I wanted to go and write tests in town. There's no test in this world that I did not write in Transamadi. All these oil companies, Baker Hughes, blah, 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 blah. Even Baker Hughes, I got to the last stage and I fell out. So a lot of them, once we hear, my class boys and I, we were there from UNN. Once we hear about anywhere that they're writing tests, we'll leave camp. I don't know how they were, you know, guys, they always find their way. We'll all leave camp and go and write tests in town. That's what we were doing while on camp. Towards the last day of camp, we heard that Schlumberger recruiters are coming to camp. Oh, something that I missed, something very important that I missed. By the time we got to 4th year at uni, I don't know why I missed out on this. By the time we got to 4th year at uni, Schlumberger has stopped coming to school. That's the deterioration of Nigeria for you. Gentle deterioration. In my 2nd year, they came for those in 4th year. By only 2 years, they stopped coming. Maybe there were more graduates than they need, because then for companies to come to all the way to your school for recruitment, it means that they really needed people then. But maybe by the time we got to 4th year, they already have like people that have graduated. There are lots of people looking for jobs at that time. So they didn't come. That's the part, an important part that I missed. So while on camp, because this was a company I've heard about before, I made sure that I attended that talk. And there, the recruiter presented the different segments of Schlumberger, wireline, Anadrill. Back then it was called Anadrill. Later, during our measurements, testing, you know, stuff like that, Western G-Code. They were really involved in the life cycle of an oil from exploration to, I think the only thing they didn't do was refining, but yeah, every other thing, they did it. And then, because of the presentation, I felt that wireline is my best, like the best segment that I could work in Schlumberger. At the end of the talk, the guy said, okay, if you're interested in applying, if you qualify, you must have a 2-1, you must study engineering courses, physical science courses. They mentioned the courses, so if you qualify, you should submit your CV at so place. And we did that, we submitted. Before we left camp, they pasted a short list for the days that will come and take the test, the written test, the first written test. Later, I was posted to a telecoms company, a small telecoms company. So I went there and I already started working by the time that I needed to go and write the test. So the day I came to write the test, again, if you see the crowd there, oh my God, this was just for one day. I think from the list they pasted, the written test happened over 3 days. So for just one day, the crowd was so much. It felt like we walked into the hall and left again because there was no time. This is the kind of exam that, it was physics exam. Yeah, physics-based exam. It's handwritten, by then you solve it and you shade it. But there was not enough time for you to answer any question. What I was doing was, once I read the question, if I don't know, if it doesn't register immediately about how I'm going to solve it, I just leave it and go to the next one. In fact, by the end of the exam, my greatest worry was whether I shaded in the correct box. Yeah, because you skip several questions and then you finally see a question that, you know, maybe you solved 5 and then you skipped 6 and 7 and then you knew 8 and you solved it. I was wondering whether I got the answer and shaded it in number 6 or did I shade it in number 8. In fact, like, my brain was on fire. Anyway, I wrote the exam and I left. And they said we should come the next day to check for our result. We came the next day. Out of this crowd that I told you about that was there, we were at least 500 people. Yeah, I'm telling you, at least 500 people there that day. Out of those 500 people that were told to come and check their result the next day, do you know how many people that was on the list? 11 people. 11 people. I just cried on my way home and I said, that's the end of it. But there's another thing coming. Yeah, how many minutes is it? Oh my God. Another thing coming about the middle of our service year we started in July, and then by February the next year, one of my class boys came to our workplace and told me that my name appeared in Obiabo because I was serving in Port Harcourt City. So where in our local government, the oil companies are not this Transamadi that I told you, where all the oil companies and oil services companies are, falls under Obiabo local government. So whenever they needed to announce anything, they only went to Obiabo local government to paste it. So I didn't hear about it. So one of my class boys came to my workplace to tell me. And back then there were no mobile phones. Do you know how my class boy knew that I was working there? One day, the other engineers and myself, we came out to go to site because our work is mostly in the field. And I saw somebody walking down that looked like my class boy, and I hailed him, Ajibo, hey, what are you doing on this side? He said that he came to a place close to my office. That's how he knew that I was working there. Else, he would not have known, because when they saw that at Obiabo, my class people there that were serving in Obiabo were like, who knows where Floppy is? Who would tell her? And he said that he has seen me, he knows where I work. That's how he came and told me. And then he said that they on the notice, they said that we should come to their office, Schlumberger office on Aba Road, to update our data and all that. So I went there, updated my data, and very close to, I'm rushing this story, but just for me to answer this question, how did I decide on? A lot of things were decided for me. So I went to that office and I wrote down my information, and very close to our service year ending, I wasn't going to work that week. I was going there every day for the preparation. So at the end of that day's preparation, one of my friends wanted to make a phone call. So I went with her. And because I was just standing there idly waiting for her I said, let me call our secretary in the office. Let me chat with her and ask them how they're doing in the office with me, not around and all that. She said, Chinchi, that's what she called me, Chinchi. Come here, or you have a letter. And I was like, which letter? Who knows me? I thought she was joking. She wanted a way to get me to come to the office. She said, you haven't even passed her. You have already forgotten me and all that. I won't tell you who is from, but I'm serious. I can guarantee you that I'm serious, that you have a letter. That's how I went straight to the office instead of going home that day. I went to the office, and lo and behold, it was a DHL from Schlumberger. They put slides in the application form and all that for their company for interview. So they invited me for a last stage interview before I was hired. We passed out and I continued working in that company a little bit, prepared for the interview. I went for the interview, the one that I've often said that it lasted for 10 good hours. In that telecoms company, they didn't want to specify whether they wanted to retain me or not. So I actually asked them point blank, are you retaining me or not? Because you can't continue paying me what you're paying me as a core member, Then they said, okay, this is how much we're going to pay you. And it was, in fact, the money that they offered the male engineers the previous year was much more than what they offered. Like, I mean, a year later, you're offering somebody something that is like maybe 70% of what you offered the other engineers the previous year. So I got annoyed and left. I went back to where I did my internship. I called up the man and I said, I'm looking for a job. I just graduated. I'm looking for a job. The man was like, oh, the company doesn't really have a space now, but you can come. You can come, because I was really good, when I did my internship. They said, you can come. You can do the networking of this office. This office needs the networking upgrade. And I was like, oh my God. When I arrived, he told me the scope of what he wanted done. He wanted me to redo the networking of the office. And this is not my area of competence. If it's today that we are in the digital age, I can actually do everything online, using ChatGPT and all that. Get all the information online, tell them what they need to buy and all that, and do it. But back then, no. I was going to that job. At the end of the month, they paid me my salary. And that's the one time I felt so much imposter syndrome in me. Like, it was crushing, let me just say. In fact, that day I was like, why did these people pay me? What job did I do? Because I didn't even achieve anything that month. Why did they pay me? In the taxi that day, I was crying. And before I got home, I saw a phone booth and I stopped there. I went to make a call to Schlumberger office. I called the Schlumberger secretaries to ask them. I said, I haven't heard from you. What's the outcome of the interview with you? Because when I attended the interview, I knew that I performed well. Yeah, you will know that you performed well. From the nature of the interview, I was outstanding, if I do say so myself. So I was confident enough to ask them what happened, what is going on. And they were like, oh, I was just about to contact you now that you've been hired. Another thing I forgot to mention, in the application form, When they asked which segment of Slum I wanted to work in, I put that I wanted to work in wireline. Yeah, I put it there in the application form. Back to the lady was, they say, oh, I was about to contact you now. Are you close to this place? Can you come here now? This was around 5:36 because, you know, I've closed from my place of work and I was on my way home. So 5:36, I said, yeah, I'm close because actually where I was standing is about 1 kilometer from that office that we are talking about. I said, yeah, I'm close there. I can come now. He said, yeah, come. Your letter is ready. Congratulations. Like she was rushing. I was shivering. I was like shivering. I dropped the phone immediately and I started walking there. It's 1 kilometer away, but there's no way for you to get there by transport because there's no, like, it's a strange place. Yeah. So I had to walk there. I went there and they handed me my letter of employment. And they said that I need to go to France, that I need to get do you have an international passport? Do you have this? Do you have that? First of all, you need to get a passport. And I went to get a passport. Okay, now you're going to Lagos. You need to go to Lagos for the visas. On the letter of employment, I saw that they posted me to another segment, not the one I wanted. I was a bit, of course, I was happy because I got the job. But there was that, oh, I thought you people asked me this because you wanted to know where I wanted to go and because you will send me there. You know, stuff like that. But I can tell you now that that's the best job for me. Because of this job, I was able to carry everything. I was able to juggle everything that is going on in my life, including all the side things that I do, including ability to do personal projects. Like, it's the perfect job for me. So Lily Casablanca, I hope that you can now understand that I made decisions based on actions that I took. For instance, going to do my internship in Port Harcourt, going to Abuja to change my posting, NYSC posting, to make sure that I served in a place where the opportunities that I wanted existed. Reading harder, because I tell you, I really read. I really suffered in school. I really read hard. That's where I took the action. But the rest of it was chosen for me. The course that I studied, the career that I have today was chosen for me. But of course, I always took all those lemons in quote and made lemonade. I didn't say, oh, because you people did not send me to while I'm not going to do well in my job. I did well in my job, excelled in my job. I have great reviews in my job. In fact, that's why I'm able to work as a freelancer today. An agent finds a job for me and I go if I want, I don't go if I don't want, and all that. A lot of things influenced where I am at today. The most important thing is that at each point in time, I made the most of every opportunity that fell on my laps. Yeah, a lot of these opportunities, looking back now, I can say maybe it fell on my laps. A lot of them are subject to my efforts and my taking action. You need to take action. And action is the most important thing. Yeah. God has already done everything that he would need to do for us. He has already created this world. God had already done he has already set up the firmament. All this going to disturb God, I'm not a party to that. I don't disturb him because I know that he has given us everything that we need to operate as humans. We just need to act and operate. Yeah. Bye. See you in my next video.